Hey there, this is Alex Kluge. I'm here from Toronto Home Experts, and I'm here to dive into the November 2023 Toronto real estate market update. Okay, lots to unpack this month. This is going to be a great video. I'm excited for you all to be watching this month's video. There's a lot happening actually in the market right now. Some interesting trends that are starting to develop, and that might give us some clues, hints in terms of what to expect this winter market and into 2024. Let's jump right in. Okay, so sales volume, unsurprisingly, is down 6% from where we were last year, right? If you've been watching this channel, I've either been telling you it's been the worst month on record for sales volume or second worst. Basically, it's been like that since June. May was a little bit of an anomaly. It was actually an unbelievably active month. But really, since then, we've been, seeing pretty steady declines in terms of sales volume. So again, not surprising given where we've been. I expect that trend to continue for December, most likely January. After that, who knows? But really, at the end of the day, sales volume, big driver of that is mortgage rates, right? So we've seen fixed rates have come down ever so slightly over the last couple weeks, which has helped a little bit with some of the numbers that we're looking at. But until we see like a material decline in interest rates, we're going to expect sales volume like we've had over the last, call it 12 months, right? So again, what to expect? Difficult to say, but currently the bond market's pricing in roughly 125 basis point decline for 2024. And CIBC just reported their economic forecast and suggested 150 basis point decline for 2024 was what they were predicting. So when will that happen? My suggestion or my feeling would be probably sometime mid next year. Again, who knows? Really depends on the economic data that comes out between now and then. Like really CPI, like core inflation, that's going to be a really big driver for that. Also GDP, are we technically in a recession? Technically, I would say we're not, although we're really, really close is what my feeling. Like certain segments of the market are in a recession, others are not. But overall, I would say we're probably teetering on that line. So again, we'll see what happens over the next, few weeks when the economic data gets released, and that'll give us a further indication of what to expect with mortgage rates going forward. So, okay, so new listings are up to 10,500 and change. So we've seen sales volume decline. We're seeing new listings go up. What does that mean? That typically means that we're going to see softening in prices, right? So that's usually a really good indicator. And I don't want to we're about to get to that slide shortly, but that's what we're seeing. We're seeing slowness in the market because inventory is rising, and interestingly, inventory is rising primarily in the condo market. So the condo market is really dragging the overall market, and that's basically downtown Toronto. Peel is also actually surprisingly quite weak as well. But overall, I would say generally speaking, condo market is quite slow. So actually, some interesting data I wanted to share. So for condos for this past month, sales were at a 20-year low. Okay, now we're looking at new listings, the second highest on record. So just think about that for a moment. Sales are 20-year low, listings second highest ever. What's going to happen? Drop in price. And that's basically what we're seeing. So the condo market is really, really being affected primarily. And that's having an overall effect on resale market. Now, again, this is very specific, right? So I'm talking about blanket GTA numbers here. If you're looking at a condo in Lawrence Park as an example, it's a little bit more protected than, let's say, something down by City Place, Spadina in Front, right? Not to pick on City Place or anything like that, but it's a large scaled, condo community, with, many, many condos. So that is obviously going to be affected differently from, some of these stats than, something that's a little bit more, protected, like something like in Bloor West Village as an example, or the Kingsway. Okay, so active listings, unsurprisingly are up 40%. Like, take these stats with a little bit of a grain of salt. But, this is, again, going to some of the stats that I was sharing with you about the condo market. And really, I don't want to like come around and doom and gloom about the condo market. That's not what this video is about. But the condo market is soft. Like, let's be real, it's soft. Prices have come down. They're continuing to come down. It's a challenging market. If you're looking to sell a condo, it's a very challenging market. If you're looking to buy a condo, there's lots of choice. There's plenty of choice, and that's great. Great position to be a buyer in, right? So, realistically, why is the condo market so slow? Investors are typically a big proponent of that market, and they're not buying. Why? Well, interest rates have gone up considerably. Like, cash flow investments are really tough to find at these current rates. And rental rates, I've actually noticed rental rates come down a little bit as well. So rental market's a little bit softer. It's tough to qualify on these mortgages. So we're not seeing investors buy. First-time home buyers are being basically priced out because of the mortgage qualification rules. Like, you've got the stress test, you have to qualify at a higher rate. So that makes it a little bit more difficult for first-time home buyers to come in. So, all these things are contributing to what's happening out there. So anyway, just some trends I wanted to share with you, because I think we're going to continue to see some weakness in the condo market in the near term. Okay, so months of inventory. This is one of my favorite stats to go over. So for anyone who doesn't, who would like to learn more about how this is calculated, so months of inventory is the number of active listings divided by the number of sales. So that gives you how the absorption of properties that are being absorbed in the marketplace. So that gives us a good barometer in terms of whether we're in a buyer's market, seller's market, or a balanced market. So right now we're roughly 4, and that's basically a balanced market, like 4 to 6 balanced. Anything over 6 is buyer's market. Anything like 2, 2.5, 3 is a seller's market. So what interestingly is, again, I'm not trying to pick on condos, but like condos are downtown condos are over 7 months inventory as of November. So, that's really skewing the numbers a little bit. Like, freehold markets tends to be still pretty stable. I mean, yes, it's very much balanced market. We're not seeing the bidding wars to the same degree like we were, even last year. But we're seeing the condo, and I'm not just picking out downtown Toronto condos. Like, actually the Peel condo market, if you look at those numbers, are actually just as bad. So again, like, take these numbers with a grain of salt. My point, what I'm trying to make here is, it's really a tale of two markets. The freehold market is, I would say, still balanced. Like, I see property, like if there's a good property that comes up for sale, I still see property selling in a matter of under a week, like a few days, whereas condos are taking a lot longer to sell. So basically, condos are slower, freehold's more balanced, but we're kind of in that funny stage where we're getting into the winter time, where typically market slows down even further. So what I'm interested to see is, like, are we going to see inventories rise, or are we going to see them a little bit stabilize, and so that the market can continue to absorb the new inventory that's coming on the market. Okay, so average price. Unsurprisingly, we're flat. Basically, what I've been saying the last few months, like, price is basically the same from where we were last year. If anyone was following some of the news stats, like, the average price actually came down 3.9% from last month to this month. And some media outlets kind of made that a little bit of a news headline. But is that really cause for concern? Not really. I mean, like, if you look at average prices, October, November, it's typically a decline. Like, 3.9 is not nothing. Like, it's a pretty substantial number. But we always see a decline, and that's because we're entering into winter. We're entering into a period where typically, like, higher price property or luxury homes typically sell earlier on in the in the fall market. So now we're taking November numbers, which is a little bit skewing that data a little bit. Anyways, so yeah, average prices are basically flat. Here's a good little graph I like to show each month, basically showing you that, like, where we are in that cycle. Like, we're still above the lows of January. We're still way off the highs from February last year. But this kind of gives you some good indication in terms of, like, we saw like a really nice run up all the way to May. Like, May was just a wild month for sales. And so, and we've been basically coming off steady since then. So, I could sort of seeing us being, flat, maybe down over the next few months. And once we start getting that economic data to come out in the early part of the new year, that'll give us a real indication of what to expect when rates are going to come down, by approximately how much, and that'll give some forward guidance of what to expect for the spring market. But right now it's way too early to tell. Like, we're in November, like, January, I think February, we're going to have a better indication about that point. Okay, so average home price by district. Basically, if you're looking at the Toronto real estate as a whole, like, and this is just like gives you some, comparative, year over year. But the two markets that are the strongest currently in all the GTA are Durham and Toronto. Peel has been really slow. York Region's been slow as well. Halton, like, it's been certainly held up by Durham and Toronto. Durham has actually been pretty strong over the last several months since the summer, and continues to be so, which is great. I know these stats show that it's like flat, year over year, but what I'm seeing is some the market's really been held up by or helped by Toronto and Durham. So it's something just to keep in the back of your mind when you're looking at some of these stats. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this month's video. I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter, but I know I have a tendency of talking a little bit because I get excited by some of these numbers. So again, I'm loving the questions and the feedback that we're getting. Feel free to hit us up on our social media channels, send us an email. Love to hear from you. And yeah, again, take these numbers with a grain of salt. These are holistic GTA numbers. If you're looking for something more specific when it comes to either your neighborhood or your district, your MLS district, reach out to us. We're happy to dive into those numbers. Similar level of analysis, we can do that for your specific neighborhood. So reach out to us. Be happy to help. Thanks again, and talk to you soon. Bye for now.